This is Bars at Work, where leadership and personal development meets hip hop. I'm Bajoy Phillip.
And I'm Javen Ferrer. Bars stands for dope lyrics. Every episode, we drop bars about a topic.
Then we break them down for motivation and insights that you can apply in your work.
Let's get things started with this episode, Change.
Good morning. Happy Thanksgiving. No Shave November. Let's do this. Yeah. No lie, no job, I'm no slouch with these rhymes. He falls, he climbs, I do time in these lines, bars. If they hate, let them hate. I slap face with 2 8s in each place where leaders create. An agile mind is hard to find. The future's about connecting dots, innovating out the box. Keep learning to get placed by the bots. Automation, yes, Westworld, maybe not. You're either cool with the status or you move through the ladders, promoting change in the system with a little bit of havoc. The quote can get my quotables. Now run it back to understand what I unfold for you. Now change agents always got the red dot on them. The old-fashioned sitting back wanna plot on them. To the cynics, tell them why like Simon Sinek. But keep it all moving if they still don't wanna listen. I'm hip-hop's DNA. Diversity included like Corona with the lime. I break paradigms, blur all the lines. Stir up the minds with the courage to shine. I'm gone.
B.
Yo.
Bars.
Now,
these ain't your traditional bars that we grew up with. These ain't your bars that people are used to listening to. So tell me a little bit about this piece. What were you going for in this piece called Change?
Yeah. When we started this whole concept, Bars at Work, I was in some classes and things that I was studying around change in organizations and in industry and how do you drive change. And so that was just a topic just sitting in my mind. And I heard you drop your verse earlier and I was like, okay, I got to put a topic out there. And so change was just one of those things that came about. And we know that change is everywhere. It's a constant. It's always happening. And most importantly, like, what's our role as, leaders and professionals in driving change in organizations? And what do you feel and what do you experience in doing that? So that was the meaning or like the overall subject matter of that topic. But I definitely go into a couple areas of change in the verse.
All right. Well, look, the interesting part about it is this is one of the first pieces that we did, and anybody that sees us on Instagram at Bars at Work, you go back and you see the timestamp is like November 2018.
Yeah.
And so we're talking about change in November 2018, and we'll get into one of the references that you hit at the end. Somebody might have caught the word, but we'll get there. And we're in a period of change right now. As at the point that we are recording this, we are right now in quarantine.
Yeah.
The rest of the country, the rest of the world for the most part. And we are talking about change in a major way. So you talk about change in marketing, change in the business world in general, but this is a whole new element of change and not just our business lives, but our personal lives. And now really having them merge into one for the most part for a lot of people.
Yeah. If anything, this topic is so important right now. And we've seen the change in businesses of how they're adapting, the change in how team leaders are having to lead their teams differently in this COVID pandemic timeframe. So we could talk about just the applicability of change and how do you go about change even in this time period, because it's so real for everybody.
Yeah. So let's jump into these bars.
All right, let's do it.
No Shave November. Let's do this. Yeah. No lie, no job, I'm no slouch with these rhymes. He falls, he climbs, I do time in these lines, bars.
Hey, yes, it was. Bars. So okay. So break this down. What I'm hearing about is like you falling and climbing and rising and doing time in the bars. What's that all about, man?
Yeah. So you think about change. You think about the ups and downs of change. How when you're leading through change, it's never a constant win. I know exactly what I'm doing. I know exactly how I'm going to get to the next step. When you're navigating change, there's always complexity. There's always ambiguity. And the ups and the downs that I talk about in the first line, really just referencing my own personal experience with change and saying, hey, I have ups, I have downs. And then there's just a little bit of a reference of, spending time in these lines, bars, kind of a double entendre there, talking about being behind bars.
Hey,
You know, spend time with these lines.
bars.
You know, bars, lines in a jail cell. You know,
Yes, sir.
bars.
Sir, I got you. Yes, thank you for breaking it down for the professionals who may not be up on the hip hop and the bars. So that's a continual thing. We're gonna have to let them know. All right, let's keep it going.
Yeah.
If
Go.
they hate, let them hate. I slap face with 2 8s in each place where leaders create.
Yes, yes, yes. I have questions. Break that last piece down. If they hate, let them hate. So like, what? Why is anybody gonna hate? Who's hating? Like,
Hey, yeah. This is Bars at Work. Who does hip hop with professional development? We're both senior leaders in our organizations.
right?
We both have credentials, the academics, but who mixes that with hip hop and the perception that hip hop is something different, not meant for the corporate world, not meant for the professional world, things like that? There's bound to be some change, friction, in just the adoption of something like this.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just making it clear, if they hate, let them hate. I slap face with 2 8s. And for those that don't know, a typical verse in a hip hop song is 16 bars. So when I say I slap face with 2 8s, I'm basically saying 2 sets of 8 bars. Bow.
Yo, I was trying to figure out what 2 8s was, and I know it's 16s off. Maybe my math was off. That's hot right there, right? So this niche place where leaders create, it speaks more to what you just said, right? And what we're doing right now, this is definitely a niche or niche place, depending on how you pronounce that, where you're from, where you're at.
Right.
It is a place that we've seen the merging of two worlds for us personally, right? We grew up in a certain culture. Yep. We went to school. We grew up in a certain era of hip hop. And as we grew up, graduated, went out into the workplace, you still have this culture that you take with you, right? Your upbringing, this lens that you view the world in. And so that's the experience that we had, but not only us. It's like we're speaking for a whole generation, right? That experienced that. And now the cool thing about where we are in this niche place is we've been doing this 10, 15, 20 years or so, having families, professional development, and still have this ear for this thing called hip hop.
Right.
The content for us, the content and material has shifted because we've matured and we've gone on in other things in life, but we still like that sound. So we have taken this niche place that we've created, taken that sound and that element, that essence, and merged it with new content that we think our generation, as they become the leaders, the thought leaders, as the baton passes of responsibility in society, they take that, merge it, and it goes to a whole new level of conversation and engagement.
Absolutely. And, you know, the latter part of that line, and like an agile mind is hard to find. You talk about thought leadership. The new world of change requires agility. How do you connect dots between things? How do you merge things? You look at all the great innovations that we experience, our phones, technology, a lot of these products and solutions came from connecting things that weren't supposed to be connected together. Right. And so when we talk about hip hop and professionalism, you know, it was a nod to this idea of agility and being able to innovate by connecting things that shouldn't be connected. But when you do, the impact and the solutions and the new creation that comes out of that is really impactful. So,
absolutely. So yeah, you alluded to this next piece. Let's run it.
An agile mind is hard to find. The future's about connecting dots, innovating out the box, keep learning to get placed by the bots. Automation, yes. Westworld, maybe not.
I like it, man. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
So that's an interesting one. So, you know, keep learning or get replaced by the bots. Automation, yes. Westworld, maybe not. We know. Can I say to my own verse? I don't know.
I mean, it's out there. It doesn't matter. Sometimes you even realize what you said.
Yeah. You and I know this, right? And everyone listening, if you're listening to this right now, it's because you're probably a learner. You're somebody who wants to be exposed to new things. And that is part of being successful or thriving in these times and in the future, is that continuous learning. And we're seeing the age of digitization and digital and bots and automation and AI and all of these things are starting to creep into industry and really change how work is done. It's changing the nature of people's roles. It's changing what kind of skills you need to have. It's changing whether or not roles will exist or not. And so when I say keep learning or get replaced by the bots, automation, yes, Westworld, maybe not. I'm just saying, you know, there is a urgency around all of us building our skills and exploring what's the next thing, because you don't want to be outdated in this economy. And yeah, so.
And you know, especially so in this time, in this time of recording, as this goes out during this pandemic, there's going to be a lot of people that have either been laid off or reduced hours, or on another extreme, you know, people that, you know, have just continued to work because they're essential services, and then everything else in between. So people are right now going to be thinking about, what does my future look like? What does the future of work mean for me and for my family? How does business as usual look tomorrow?
Yeah.
No, it's not going to be the same. So what does that look like? And what is my role in that? So what are the skills that I need to do to make sure that, as a, you know, my background is project management, I'm all about risk mitigation. How do I mitigate the risk of me getting laid off or getting reduced hours later on if something else happens, right? The people that are being proactive about their future, they're going to be thinking about it. You can't think about that and have that conversation without considering automation. So you have to consider, well, what do I do to get up on whatever technologies? Technologies are a wide range. We can do a whole probably about that. What do I need to learn? What skills do I need to learn? Do I need to go back to formal education? Shoot, do I just need to go out there and YouTube a bunch of things? Because just about anything I want to learn, I can learn some degree on YouTube, right? And get that YouTube degree, right? So what do I need to do to make myself more marketable and make sure that I'm a little bit more insulated when something like this might happen again?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, you know, my heart and prayer goes out to, you know, everybody who's been impacted from an employment standpoint and just financial standpoint, but it's real. And we're seeing that with even small businesses, where your local restaurant or your, you know, local business that didn't get onto the digital trend of how to operate their business or look at new ways of customer service, when this all hit, all of a sudden you're not getting foot traffic, you're not getting customers through the door, and you're seeing businesses shut down because they weren't able to adapt quick enough. So it's an unfortunate thing, but it's a reality that we have to deal with. And so it just makes you think about, you know, all of these things. How do we continue to learn, grow our businesses, grow ourselves professionally, and adapt to the future trends?
Absolutely. Hey, let's keep these bars going.
Yeah, let's go.
You're either cool with the status or you move through the lattice, promoting change in the system with a little bit of havoc. The quote can get my quotables. Now run it back to understand what I unfold for you. Now change.
Hold up. There's a lot in there. I'm working backwards, man. The quotables. What does that mean?
Yeah. So we all talk about the status quo, right? And change is all about looking at what's currently happening and saying, is it what we want to happen? Is it getting us the results and outcomes that we want? Is what we're doing sustainable? All of those questions challenge the status quo. And so what I'm just saying in this verse is like the quo or the status quo can get these quotables. These verses are to challenge the thinking and the entrenched ways of doing, so we could, you know, open up possibilities of how we can move forward in different ways. So
for sure, man, I like it. You're either cool with the status, or you move through the lattice, promoting change in the system with a little bit of havoc.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
So, you know, from an applied standpoint, I mean, this is true to change. It's hard to create change by yourself. You know, you could be a voice for change. You can try to influence change, but there's a point where you have to move through the lattice or that network of people and systems in whatever business, organization, team that you're in. And how do you do that with stealth? And how do you present your ideas? How do you get influencers? How do you get others to adopt your ideas and be the ones that actually push it forward for you? That's moving through the lattice, you know, and sometimes you're going to be that person that stirs it up.
Yeah.
And I think every professional or leader that wants to make a difference, there's going to be a point where you create a little havoc and you're going to be wondering, is it worth it?
Yeah.
What did I just do?
Yeah.
And my encouragement to everybody, if you're doing it for the right reasons and for the right outcomes, is to continue moving forward. So,
man, so the Lattice instantly triggered me to one of our all-time favorite movies, in The Matrix, and the concepts and the messaging has been long since talked about and documented from The Matrix. But the Lattice to me represents the things that are normal, that everybody knows is normal, everybody knows is customary, but you have this inkling that something is different or something needs to change. And so you make that decision. Am I going to push the envelope, like you said, or am I going to just allow the status quo to persist, right? And to whatever degree you decide to push the envelope, there's going to be a lot of friction. Friction creates opposition, friction creates
exactly.
And enough friction creates fire, right? So you might be seen as a fire starter. The perception of people that people want to rock the boat, they're causing trouble or stuff like that. And it's like, no, I see a better way. But people don't always adapt and adopt a better way easily, right? So you got to make that choice. And who do you want to be? It's good, man. Run it.
Now change agents always got the red dot on them. The old fashioned sitting back want to plot on them.
Hey, we can't move too far too fast. You're boat rocking.
Hey, I'm boat rocking. I'm boat rocking. Yeah. So we know, like, as a change agent, you typically have all eyes on you, or when you start to stir up the pot a bit, all of a sudden you feel the resistance. You feel people targeting, and I say people because it's not the organization. It's typically people around you. In your teams and the divisions that you work in, the areas that you work, and you feel this explicit kind of resistance. So that's I'm thinking about the red dots and the old fashioned sitting back want to plot on them. I want to be clear. I'm not talking about age here, right? Mm-hmm. I feel the old fashioned mentality can be in any demographic, any age group, but it's this mentality of don't rock the boat too much, but we've done it this way. This is how we do it. And if it's getting results, which I would question if it's getting the results you really want, that's where I'm getting to this the old fashioned sitting back, want to plow them. It's a mentality. Yeah. And so even myself, I have to keep on asking myself, do I bring that mentality out when somebody else is coming with new ideas, fresh ideas, a potential new opportunity, those types of things? I got to ask myself, am I thinking with that old fashioned mentality, or am I thinking progressively?
Man, so we've always done it this way. I can tell you how many projects, when you start out, you start gathering, what are we doing for current process, current state? People are telling you, and when you start asking the question why, it's you get down, we've always done it this way, but tell me why it works. Like, prove to me that best way. It's like, no, it's like everybody's comfortable with it. So they just keep going. There could be so many more efficiencies and things that are done, but sometimes people don't care about those things because it's like, you're shaking up my life. I have to adopt in a new process and way of doing things, and I'm comfortable. Like, I don't want to change that. So yes, that old fashioned mentality could be in somebody that's just entering the workforce, because it's like, this is the way I was taught in school.
Right.
Oh yeah, that you were in school a year ago. Do you know how exponentially technology is advancing these days? Like,
exactly,
last year is like dated. If you're not staying up to the latest technologies, you're going to get left behind. So even I agree, it's not an age thing. Thanks for clearing that up, because somebody could have heard that as old fashioned, right? We're talking about old fashioned mentality.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, there is an aspect of tenure and things that do play a part in entrenched ways of thinking. But again, I think it's more about a mentality. And the one thing I would say around the ability to adapt and to try new things, we have to be asking what could be and what are the possibilities, not so much show me the business case of it proving out. Because if you're really trying to innovate, you may not have the data to say it's exactly going to work out this way. If you're thinking like that, you're thinking in a let's just follow a best proven formula or practice that I can measure.
Yeah.
But if you're saying no, the outcome is this that we want to get to, let's say increase sales, and the new innovation that I'm thinking about is this particular new solution, you may not have the data to say it's going to work. So that's where experimentation comes into play. That's where true innovation starts to happen, and you measure those things. But trying to have a rock solid business case may not always be there.
That's right, and that's also an old fashioned mentality. That's
right.
Changed, right? Because you get into this, hey, we have to gather all of our requirements, and then we have to move into building everything and then testing and putting it out there. And it's like, well, by the time you put it out there, if you've gone through all those steps, it could be dated.
Right.
This is where you get into, like you said earlier, the agile mind.
Right.
That mind says, I'm going to take a piece of, what I think is going to be the future
and test it out. Yeah.
Test it, implement it.
Yeah.
Change it. Continuous improvement.
Right.
But that mentality there, it speeds things up. And the other thing about old fashioned, when you're used to a certain slow pace without technologies, and then technology comes in, it speeds things up automatically.
Right.
The medias that we're on right now, right? These people are getting this information real time. They could take this and implement something tomorrow. So when the speed of communication is so fast, it forces you to increase the speed of productivity and implementation, or else you do get left behind.
Right. Right.
It won't last for long.
Yeah. I hear that.
We're bringing this home, man. Let's run these bars.
Let's bring it home.
To the cynics, tell them why like Simon Sinek, but keep it all moving if they still don't want to listen.
I can't hear Simon Sinek's name and allow bars to continue going.
Yeah.
He's go ahead. Break.
I'm like
one of our favorites.
For those, Simon Sinek, with his classic why principle and
why 19 on YouTube.
Exactly. One of the top TED Talks, of all time.
Absolutely.
And it's a classic. It's a classic, an oldie but goodie. And the idea of having a powerful why behind your change, I think is crucial. You think about change management, you think about those frameworks, whether it be pro-sci folks and ADKAR and all those things. At the end of the day, is there enough of a purpose or a why behind what you're doing? And is that clear to people as you're communicating whatever change you're trying to push out there? And so that's important. But there is a point where people don't want to listen to the why. And so I say, and if they still don't want to listen, just keep on moving. Right. And this is a point where change agents, you have to know when to cut bait and when to continue to persist, because sometimes it's not fruitful to continue to persist, and it's just not the right timing. It's not the right season. You're not going to get enough energy to be successful in the change that you're trying to create. And so there is a sense of judgment that you have to put in there. So.
Yeah, man, I like it. Tell them why, because sometimes people jump to
the what.
Doing,
yeah,
right?
I just want to do this, and it's like, what? Why? But if you told them, here's the opportunity, here's the outcome we're trying to get to, this is why, this is what's going to need to shift. These are the things that there. And the Simon Sinek reference, he talks about having a more emotional connection to the why. Sometimes it's not the numbers that speak to people. Sometimes it's really more of an emotional message or something about how it's going to impact people, how's it going to impact the organization, dealing with a key frustration that people have, and really tapping into that in your message and saying, this can really solve for this common problem that we have. And so you're dealing with people's hearts and not just their minds.
And that's also, an evolution in society and technology and humanity as we move forward, because in our generation and our parents' generation, that element wasn't as at the forefront, right? The sentiment, the emotion behind things, even though it was very much at play and it worked with different movements, right? Martin Luther King, Simon Sinek references, and the gravity of a message. But our kids definitely are not going to subscribe to just do what I say, not as I do.
Nope.
This is the best way. They're looking for work with purpose. Look, our generation is looking for work with purpose.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Flexibility. Yeah. The next one coming up is definitely like, if I don't get this, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to last long. So they need to understand the why behind it because they're a generation of purpose.
Yes.
They want to do
Yes.
things that make sense. They want flexibility. The millennials get a bad rep, man. And those that's coming behind them because it's like they get stigmatized as being lazy. They want things their way. They all these type of things. They're spoiled generation. Now,
Yeah.
to a degree, we can make the argument that some of those stigmas
Yeah.
validity, right? But when you look at the other side, it's like, well, nah, look at the why
You're right.
behind what they're asking for and about how they're moving, right?
Yeah.
It really all boils down to purpose and how they move. So you got to communicate that.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And you're not going to win everybody over in change, but what you want to do is get to a critical mass or a core group of influencers and people that believe in what you're doing and can help and enable and support you. And it becomes a team thing and it becomes an organizational thing, not an individual effort.
Absolutely. All right, bring it home, baby. Closing.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
I'm hip-hop's D&I, diversity included like Corona with the lime. I break paradigms, blur all the lines, stir up the minds with the courage to shine. I'm gone.
I'm gone with the coffee mug. I'm gone.
I'm gone. Yeah.
Brother. Yo, so D&I, hip-hop's D&I. What is
Yeah.
what are you talking about?
Yeah. So it's just what we're doing right now. We're hip hop's version of diversity and inclusion, right? It's so funny how many people when I tell them, yeah, I got bars, I can rap. They're like, huh? What? Bajoy? No, not corporate professional Bajoy. Can't be him, right? And hip hoppers are looking at me like, bro, you got gray hair,
right?
Yeah. No, I'm not buying it. They don't know my history. They don't know my background, all those things.
Right.
And then on the professional side, it's like a whole new level of diversity coming into the professional world, bringing this side to us,
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I'm just kind of bringing this whole change story together with this idea that it's about inclusiveness of a diverse perspective, and yeah, that's what I'm referencing.
Break paradigms, blur
all the lines.
Stir up the minds.
That's a change. It's like a summary note of like, it's about breaking entrenched ways and frames of mind and then blur all the lines. How often are we operating? This is my job. This is what I do. This is how it's supposed to be done. This is what the best practice says. This is what the benchmark metrics say. Like we're always seeking after validity from the lines. Versus saying, what if we blurred that? What happens if we blurred that? What happens if we do something different? And that's what I'm, really trying to push at the end of this verse.
Well, you do a great job of that, man.
Yeah.
Because, I was just recently having some conversations about siloed organizations. So when you talk about blurring the lines, that even comes in how organizations are structured.
Yes.
Where I believe the future is where organizations are going to have to be less hierarchical, more flat. And when you go more flat, rather than hiring for this position and this label, you have to consider what skills and diversity does this person bring to the table? Because the lines are blurred, I need them to be a little bit more of a utility player in their knowledge, in their abilities to implement, because they might have to have their hand in sales and marketing. There's some companies out there right now that have taken their traditional sales VP, marketing VP, and service VP, and they merged that into one role. Because if you have a sales, marketing, and a service VP, they all have conflicting, competing interests.
Right.
So,
right.
And it doesn't go together. Right. So when you merge those two into one organization, the person at the top that's driving the organization, they now have one goal. So every one of those teams has one goal and says, how can we best reach that goal through the lens of service?
Exactly.
Through the lens of sales. So when the lines are blurred, somebody could look at that as, okay, I can't see clearly. And it's like, no, you can see clearly. You just can't see clearly the lines to be able to say, this is my job. That's your job. We're no longer siloed. We're blurring and smashing down the walls.
Exactly. And
communicate, right? Bi-directionally.
It's not really about I have blurred vision, right? What we're saying is, or what I'm saying in that verse, it's like think about an organizational structure, your sticks and boxes and the hierarchy and the lines that you were talking about.
Yep.
Those lines that say, I report to this function. This is what our function does. We're going to operate with our agenda. That's not the world of work anymore. It's common goals, common strategy, and how do we all collaborate in a network to get there? And so when you talk about change, you can't drive change on your own. You have to work across. You have to work in a matrix. You have to work, in that lattice, so to speak. So yeah, blurring the lines is about, thinking about who is your real team. It's not the people that are just in your department. It's actually people outside, above, below, especially those on the front line, things like that. So we can get into so much about just blurring the lines of hierarchy and what is a leader and, all those things and authority and all of that. But we'll save that for another topic.
Subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram at Bars at Work. Tell a friend, tell a coworker, share with your network that there's something new and fresh in the personal and professional development space. Bars at Work, lyrical thought leadership.
B&J, leadership styles, P&J to K.